Hello, my beautiful soul, and welcome back. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you three of the biggest mistakes I made over the years of building my heart centered business. So, if you are a coach, a healer, an entrepreneur who is already building and you want to learn from my mistakes, some very time consuming, also very financially costly mistakes, or if you're someone who's just starting out and you have this vision for something bigger and you're wanting to do it the most sustainable way and hopefully the most aligned, straightforward way instead of the zigzag roller coaster up and down, upside down, I don't know where I am, what's happening kind of path, then this video is going to help you. So I was reflecting the other day, and I'm going to do another video on this about why I've stopped hiring millionaire coaches, because I have worked with about 7 now million or multi-million dollar business owners who provide mentorship and coaching specifically for the online coaching space. And there have been so many beautiful things from them. I'm so grateful for each part of the journey, even if it didn't always provide me with what my ego thought I wanted or needed. There have been puzzle pieces that I've been able to extract that have really benefited me. Um, but I realize in hindsight that some of these key mistakes or key struggles were things that had I just focused on this first, and sometimes we don't want to hear this because the easiest thing is to blame someone else or blame the circumstance, but it's all an inner game. It always comes back to the inner work. So I think about, had I just understood this or prioritized these things within myself first, I could have had greater success. Things could have been more enjoyable, definitely could have been more sustainable, and I could have built a business from day one that was 1000% aligned to my heart and soul. So that leads me into the first mistake that I made, which came from an underlying insecurity and an underlying, let's just say, big level of self doubt, lack of self belief, which was the mistake of believing that someone else had the answers and that someone else was like the magic solution. Okay? There is so much, and if you're in this space, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's so much indoctrination, there's a lot of flashiness, and social media has been beautiful at expanding our worlds and opening us up to people all across the globe. But it's also been negative in that way because we're constantly consuming and we're constantly being fed more things. There's more flashy objects, more shiny things that tell us, like, this is what you need. So, my lack of self belief created a lot of problems over the last 5 years of building my business because, and this is where the biggest key is that I knew when I quit my 9 to 5, I had a really deep passion already for wanting to share the things that had helped me over the last few years, everything I'd learned in my travel, my experiences, my healing process, that I knew could transform other people's lives and help alleviate their suffering as well. And I had the download of my 90-day Thrive program. So I knew I had the meat and potatoes of what I was here to create, but I didn't have the understanding of business. And I didn't know the avenue that I was supposed to start driving on. And that is where I started outsourcing and thinking that someone else would know better. And I want to say this is like a double-edged sword because, yes, definitely there are people out there who have more knowledge of business and strategy and structure, and that's why I hired them. That's why I spent like $100,000 plus in business mentorship, because I was like, if you've built this successfully and you have this understanding, then yes, I want to fast track and I want to learn from you. But the double edge to that sword is that They are not you, and they don't know your true unique path. They don't know what's actually most aligned for your unique soul's journey. And if you're struggling with confidence or you're lacking self belief, then you're going to be very easily swayed, like I was, into fully outsourcing all your power into this other person or strategy at the expense of your own inner knowing. So when I started and I quit my 9 to 5, I remember being like, I want to have a YouTube channel. I want to have all these different freebies, my ebooks, my mini courses and programs. I'll grow my email list. I'll help people with my content, which is free. I'll help them with these email opt-in freebies, which are free. And then if they want to do more, I'll have this 90-day course. And at that point, it was a group mastermind so that I could work with people one-to-one and in a group program and get the proof of concept that, like, yes, in fact, my process does work. It's not just helping me, it works for others as well. So those things were all correct. But then I outsourced the way to drive there. And this led to a lot of internal disconnect and a lack of satisfaction, because I was no longer following the things that I wanted to be doing or the way I wanted to do it, because for some reason I didn't believe it was possible to have success on that avenue. And I actually hired a bunch of people doing completely different avenues. So the mistake was not honoring myself or not building the confidence in myself deeper first. Okay, which leads me into mistake number 2, which is thinking that business was separate than the laws of the universe, and forgetting that energetics take place in business. So I grew up watching my dad run his own company with my uncle, this family garden center, and I saw the struggles, I saw the successes, I saw the amount of sacrifice and effort that went into building this. And it also was very masculine, as business is a masculine principle, money is a masculine principle. And I saw this kind of template of the hustle, the force, the constant overworking and proving. And my dad was trying to prove to his dad, because there were weird family dynamics and things. Like, there were all these layers that I picked up on. So when I started my business, even though I had such a deep understanding of energy and I already had this deep connection to my higher self and to trusting my intuition, and it was my higher self that led me to travel the world, to invest in the different healers and focus on my own, filling my own cup and navigating grief and trauma. And it was my higher self that brought the download for my course and said, it's time, like, you've got to leave your job. You're here for something more. Trust me. So I had this deep trust in this open channel, we can say, to my higher self. But I shut all of that away and pushed it all aside. And my mind told me business was different. And it was like, in an instant, everything I knew about energetics and laws of the universe and alignment and manifestation and identity creation kind of got tucked aside. And it was something I believed for every other aspect of my life. I continued to use it for maintaining health. I continued to use it for relationships. I continued to use it for, I don't know what other things, lifestyle and travel and other manifestations. But business was different. And this was the biggest mistake I could have made, because it's like I shut off all creative potential. I shut off a lot of the feminine expression. I shut off a lot of the soul's honoring and that intuition and that inner truth and guidance. And suddenly was like, boom, sucked into this vortex of masculine hustle, of modeling my business and my work ethic very much after my dad and what I had observed from him. I felt this desperate need to prove myself because a lot of people around me, whether they would admit it or not, they were definitely judgmental, and it was something I picked up on and felt very deep within me. And there was this feeling of like judgment for the life I was living, people thinking I wasn't working hard or that I was just off gallivanting and doing who knows what every day. So I started hustling and I started trying to learn everything I could about marketing and all the different strategies, working with, as I said, some of these incredible mentors and coaches in the space and people who were like the first woman ever to like hit millions of dollars with this certain thing, or like organic marketing, or all these different leaders in their industry, and putting my daily practices aside, going all in on this very masculine way of living, and working longer than I had been working at my 9 to 5 before that, not because I needed to, partly because I was passionate and very excited about it, but a lot of it was because I was trying to prove myself. And I felt like if these people are over there thinking I'm lazy, then I'm gonna fucking show them and I'm gonna work so hard and I'm gonna build this incredible thing. But it was coming from ego. And you can probably feel that when I say it or like share that. And ego is very different than soul. And it leads to, down the line, a lot of misalignment, a lot of actions and decisions being made from a place that isn't our highest, right? So, what happened for me and what I see happen for a lot of other people in this place is that when we start to disconnect from honoring our soul and we disconnect from that higher self guidance and knowing, and we get pulled more into the ego and the mental body and the shoulds, the strategies, the proving, the boxed living, because it's based on the perception instead of the limitless possibility over here, right? When we get pulled into this, we tend to dig a hole. And this is exactly what happened for me, because you try harder, you're acting from misalignment, you probably don't get the results that you want, and then you feel like you need to do more to prove yourself or to finally get those results, which can lead to you taking action from fear or desperation or proving, more ego drama, and then you dig the hole deeper. And when I look at a lot of the investments, investing, joining a year-long mastermind that was like more than 30,000 US, and I'm Canadian, so like 40,000 something Canadian for a year-long mastermind with a coach that didn't really resonate and a strategy that I definitely didn't like. It was on a platform that I hate using. So I already had so much resistance, but I was already in debt at the time, and I was desperate to prove myself and get out of it and to show that what I was doing worked and that I could have success, right? So I invested in this from a place of fear and desperation and need to prove. And what happened? It like dug the hole deeper, right? And now suddenly I'm even more in debt and still confused, and coming back to mistake number one, still not honoring my soul because I'm thinking that someone else has the answers ahead of me. So I'm continuously just looping in this place of giving power away, not honoring myself, outsourcing, and like putting someone or something, potentially money in a lot of cases, on this pedestal as though this is the most important thing. Money is more important than my satisfaction or my soul's truth or the success and proving myself and being able to like look at that person that person who told me I couldn't do it or who said I was lazy, and I can look at them and be like, oh yeah, look at what I built, look at what I like slaved over, and like spent nights and all-nighters and working 70 hours a week for months because I just like kept making up useless work to pretend that I was working, to show that I was busy, and to create more structures and systems that aren't actually aligned, that I'm never going to use because I don't actually want to use them. They don't feel good to me, but I worked hard. So, like, pat on the back. I can validate my ego and tell myself that I did a good job. It was this never ending cycle, and this is what our minds do, which is why, of course, it's ironic. Of course, it happened for a reason. But as someone who knows so much about the unconscious and subconscious mind, the patterns and programming that play out, the ways that we end up in these loops and patterns, I got pulled very deep into this place, which is why I'm sharing all of this. And it's why I continuously come on here and practice it myself, because I finally broken that barrier and realized like business is no different. The laws and energetics still apply there. It's just our egos that believe it's different because that's what we've seen. And we've been taught this really masculine, lower masculine hustle culture with how things have to be built, right? But actually, the laws of the universe apply in business just as they apply with money, with health, with love. The only difference is what you believe is possible. So when our mind creates a limitation and projects it on something, now we've made it more challenging. This is why you will see someone who really has no trouble manifesting money at all. Money comes to them so easily. And you could be like, how do they do that? It's so difficult for me. Well, clearly they have a different perception about how money works. So they're just being an easy, natural, open channel, whereas you're over here with these limitations and rules and regulations about how it can or cannot come into your life. That's exactly what I had done with business. I had these very open, beautiful quantum beliefs around my health and like maintaining a certain level of health or my appearance or relationships and certain things and travel and like knowing that these things manifest like that and being very open to it. When it came to business, though, I had all these conditions, all these limitations. So I wasn't allowing the actual true ebb and flow and natural laws of the universe to come into play over there. I just kept creating more and more boxes for myself to live in. And before I get into mistake number 3, this is actually where the quantum healing hypnosis work came in. And it's why I created the bundles like Mission and Legacy, very much about your purpose and what you're here to anchor into the world. And I've got a couple really incredible free quantum healing hypnosis recordings for that. One of them, both of them are like absolute favorites of mine, but one of them is about feeling your impact of your purpose expanding across the earth, but also out into the universe and getting to really notice the deep, deep impact and ripple that you're here to create. The second one is building a legacy with God and realizing that you are not supported, you're not you're not unsupported. You are very supported. You're not unsupported. You're not doing this on your own. You're not having to find all the answers through your ego, right? Really starting to create a deeper connection to God so that you can have support in building the immense legacy or impact that you're here to do. So if you want to listen to either of those free quantum healing hypnosis recordings, they are linked down below and they will help you so much. They're absolute incredible practices that I love doing every day. Which leads me into mistake number 3, is that sometimes when we start on a path that we think is what's meant for us, we end up clinging to it for too long. And there becomes this fear of letting it go, this worry about like wasting your time or energy. And that was the mistake that kept me in the loop a lot longer than it had to. So I had kind of been in the loop that I've just shared and described for about 2 years. And then right before COVID and the lockdown happened, there was this big, like, surrendering, ego crumbling in my life. My credit card maxed out. I was living abroad. I didn't have enough money to pay for rent, so I was late on paying my best friend at the time. I had $20 in my account for groceries. I had never been in that place ever before, so it was very, like, fearful, even though I knew I could go home and I have supportive parents, I have a place I could stay. But it was like all these ego fears because I had nothing. And I was walking down the streets picking mangoes off people's yards because I was like, I only have $20 left for food. I can't really afford to live on that for very long. I don't know what I'm going to do. So fast forward, I moved back to my mom's basement and I had this period of time where I was connecting deeper to God. I started doing the quantum healing hypnosis work at that time, started surrendering a lot more and realizing, like, wow, there was a lot of karmic patterns from my mom's side of this feeling of not being seen, not being heard, not being respected, and needing to prove in her voice. Also karmic patterns from my dad with the proving and the hustling and the overworking and the toxic business kind of thing, sacrificing health and relationships and all these other things to build the business instead of doing it in a sustainable, enjoyable way. So I was able to see, like, oh gosh, there were a lot of things here that I was doing that were not necessarily me, and I kept getting pulled deeper and deeper. And I had this blank slate, this period of time to reflect and to recalibrate. And that was when it became abundantly clear to me again in 2020 that I was like, I love being on YouTube and I love this channel. I want to have my freebies, have my content, have my email opt-ins, have my courses. And if people want to go in the course, they can go. But I'm not in this heavy marketing all the time. That was in 2020, so that's 4 years ago now. And I started building out the systems. I started prepping everything. I started creating from a more sustainable, enjoyable way. But then this big manifestation happened where I moved down to Los Angeles. I didn't have my own space. I was sharing a room with someone. I felt very confined. I didn't really know where to film my content, and so I stopped. And just like that, the whole aligned structure and honoring my higher self of, like, how I wanted to show up shifted. I started co-coaching for someone else, which was helping pay the bills. But these different things came in, and again, I feel they're divine. They all brought pieces. I met incredible people. It opened up doorways in my life that I think were meant to open. But in terms of, like, my mission, my legacy, the things I desire to build, it once again took a back burner, and like distraction came in. And what happens when we're not honoring and we're not taking action towards the things that we want is it becomes really easy to fall back into the old patterns and the old tendencies, the old ways of being, which is exactly what started to happen, and where that whole, mistake of staying where I was not meant to be and where I had outgrown, and instead of, like, making the necessary change, this kind of fear of leaving the comfortably uncomfortable behind to step into creating the new reality exactly how I wanted it was gone. And that's why over the last few years, I went through that cycle all over again, kept investing even more, and once again repeated the pattern, grew and reached new income goals, and, like, did some amazing things in the process too. But then got to the point last year of being like, this is still not how I want it to be. This is not at all what I dreamed about creating or how I wanted to help people. And spent the past year slowly deconditioning all these beliefs and all this systemized program and all the things from the different coaches, and making space for my higher self to come through more clearly, more loudly, to honor her, and deepening into my practice with God of realizing the things I was creating before, God wasn't present. It really was very much built on ego. And when I look at the sustainability or the long-term potential, it didn't have that. It was burning me out from the beginning. So there's no way I could be doing that in 10 years from now, let alone like 2 more years. Like, I don't even know how I did it as long as I did, because it was just so misaligned. But what can happen is we cling to something because it's what we know. Or, as I said, we're scared of the unknown on the other side. And if it works or doesn't work, we don't want to make a mistake. But then we actually stay somewhere we're not meant to be anymore. Which brings me back to these free quantum healing hypnosis recordings for you. What's so powerful about them is when you create the space and you create the safety in your body and you realize that you're not alone in building these things, and you are deeply, deeply held and supported by a loving creator who wants to assist you. Because if you're watching this, I know you've got a beautiful heart, and I know you've got big passions and dreams about how you want to impact the planet. And I want you to realize that that's in you for a reason. And it truly does transcend just the 3D. It transcends the earth plane. Your impact, your frequency, the things that ripple out help people around the globe, but also it helps in other galaxies, because the vibrational frequency is going to be resonating outwards. So of course, the creator wants to help you in creating that positive change and bringing that positive change forward. But if you're still stuck because of any of the mistakes that I've been stuck in and that I've just shared, it becomes more difficult to do that, right? So when we're willing to let go, and in my case, it was like, I almost need to just burn this to the ground. Aside from the courses, which had always been 100% authentic to me and like fully from my heart and soul, that part could stay. That part was true. And that part I knew, like, yes, this is where the magic is. But the strategy and the business model, the platforms, the different things that I had picked up about limitations, or it has to be this way, or you need to do this thing only, that stuff that wasn't true for me, I had to like burn all of that to the ground, and I had to be willing to let that go. And it's been a process. And if you've been following, you've probably picked up on it. It's been a process of releasing that to create a new foundation. And that brings me to the solution, which is building a foundation with God. Building from a place of actual soul alignment and deep soul resonance. And allowing the creator to flow through you. Not only to support with what you're creating and building, but to assist and to guide and to be that leading force. So instead of outsourcing to another mortal being who, God bless, they're still, an incarnate of source, and they're still a beautiful being, but they don't know you. They don't know your highest truth. They don't know your full alignment. And if, like me, you're not clear on it yourself, or you're not confident enough to say it, they can't guide you correctly. I think every single one of the mentors that I had, probably we would have had a lot more success. 1000% we would have had a lot more success had I been confident when I went to them. And if I had said, this is what I'm here for, this is who I help, these are my offers, this is the way I want to show up and share it, how can you help me like systemize that? If I had come in alignment, then they would have just helped me optimize and like stay activated, and I would have been in their energy, their frequency, things would have popped off. But instead, I came to them very small, very timid, very much looking up to this savior of like, you've got lots of money and you've made big success. So you tell me the way and let me just like mold in there, even if it doesn't feel good to me. Of course, that's not going to last long term. It wouldn't have been enjoyable long term, and God wouldn't want me to be in that pathway. So when you create the foundation elsewhere and you really build it by honoring yourself, and you open up so that like God can be the guide and like show me what I'm meant to do, lead me, show me the way. I'm open, right? You invite in a different level of support. So I'm going to end this here. I really hope this was helpful, and I hope it inspires you to honor yourself first and foremost and honor a higher power that truly wants to support you in what you're here for, so that you can make that impact and build that legacy and really start reaching even more people while honoring yourself and doing it your way. And like being true, truly embodied in who you are. Yeah, it's so beautiful. And I can feel it for myself. The shift is like immense. And again, it had to happen to get me here to feel it this way and to see it. And the lessons have been beautiful. But had I understood this from day one, things would have been so different. So I really hope whatever stage you're at, there's something in this that can assist you in getting on a faster track sooner. As I said, the different quantum healing hypnosis activations will be so powerful in helping you do that and really tune into that frequency and feel what you're here to do on the biggest level. So the link for those is down below. And if you found this helpful, please thumbs up and subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments. I will be back again soon. I'm sending you so much love, and here's to the beautiful, heart-centered, purpose-driven mission and impact that you're here to create. May it be blessed infinitely.